Hello and welcome to the Election Corner on One Man Think Tank. Today I just want to go over the Georgia early voting numbers again because we're getting some interesting information here that I'm curious to see, go over with you, but curious to see if this trend is going to continue. Now the information I'm showing you is accurate for December 18th, 2020, of course, at 9:25 a.m. And 35 seconds. Apparently that's how recent this was. Now let's take a look at the numbers overall. As you can see immediately, last time compared to the general election, we were down 25% on voter turnout. Now we're only down 8%. That is a massive number. Not only has the early voting number, the vote by mail numbers increased, the early voting numbers are still above where they were for the general election. Now, this isn't super surprising because, as you need to keep in mind, COVID was significantly much more of an issue at the... Well, it's still an issue now, but I think people are treating it as a bit of a less intensive issue now that the vaccine is rolling out and people are feeling a bit more confident about treatment. And you can see here, the numbers have really started to get close. We are nearly only 100,000 votes apart, which is really surprising, especially for a runoff election. So this is going to be high turnout. This historically favors the Democrats, but as we went over in the 2020 general election review, that's not necessarily good news for the Democrats anymore, especially in red states, because that could just mean more red voters turning out. Now, Joe Biden did win the state for the presidential election, and let's take a look at some of these numbers to see if the Democrats are still winning by the margins they need. To which the answer is yes. Far and away, yes. Right now, the white vote is only at about 55%. The black vote has dropped from about 1/3 to 31, nearly 32%. But we're starting to see a growth in Hispanic, Asian, and people voting as other. All three categories are heavily in favor of the Democrats, and that's really where the change is coming from. More white turnout and more other and Hispanic Asian turnout. Female voters are also still making up about 54% of the electorate, which is good for the Democrats. And when you look here, the upper age vote, 65 plus, has started to taper out, and we're starting to see the younger generations come in. Now, unfortunately for the Democrats, this is still skewing very, very high in age. Still quite a few 50 plus votes, which of course go for Joe Biden. Not for Joe Biden, went for Donald Trump and the Republican candidates overall, so Democrats do need to be focusing on getting this turnout. However, when we look at the non-voters, meaning people who did not vote in the 2020 general election, unfortunately the data gets a bit scrambled looking down here, but I can tell, but if we look here, for the votes by age, there is a significant amount who are coming in the younger brackets as well as the unknown, which means they are probably younger brackets as well. Which is very good news for the Democrats, as well as the fact that many people who voted day of, meaning Republican voters, now they will probably vote day of again, so don't count them out. But day of voters overall are looking like they are splitting in a way that benefits the Democrats right now. Now, let's go into the real weakness the Democrats are facing by going to the county counts. Give it a moment. And we'll reorganize this. Democrats really need to be getting turnout in the 10 most populous counties. Basically, Forsyth up, in all honesty. To give you an idea, that's Fulton, Gwinnett, DeKalb, I think. I don't know. I'm not from Georgia. These are all, you're looking at your Atlanta counties here, and as you're seeing, they're only getting about between 25% and 33% of the turnout here. They really need to get those numbers up for one main reason. Right now, these guys are still making up a bulk of the votes turned in, but this is where the Democrats get their numbers from. They can't just focus on turning out cities, but they also need to pink in rural areas. So, as opposed to being dark red, they're pink. So let's go down here and see how well they're doing in some of these more rural counties. I've picked coffee at random. What they need is about between 25 and 30% African American turnout. As you can see, it's pretty Republican overall when compared to the states, so we actually picked a good one as an example. And as you can see, they're getting a decent chunk non-white vote out, and women are still in the majority. High level of the elderly, or 50 plus in this case. 65 isn't even really elderly anymore for most Americans. And you're seeing low youth turnout, but of this high 50 plus turnout, a good chunk is still African American, which, if this breaks down anything like these rural areas did for the general election, means Democrats do need to really kind of make up some ground there to be able to feel a little bit more confident about having any chance of winning here. But let's be fair, those are numbers that aren't bad for them. This is far and away from being a bad series of numbers for the Democrats. What about Clay County? Sorry, I'm trying to find a... See, they're so much more Democratic. Heard, that sounds rural. Ha, I was right. Okay. So, as you can see, now once you get to smaller numbers of people, you're going to have more strong or strict percentages, but as you can see, Democrats really want to get their favorable voters, so African American, female, and younger, to turn out, and they aren't doing that in the rural areas right now, so this does not mean Democrats have this in the bag in any way, shape, or form. Rather, right now, the Democrats have a slight... It's looking like they're definitely in the running for this thing, and it's going to be close. So, with all that being said, if you liked the video, drop a like and a comment down below. If you want to see more from the channel, click the subscribe button and the notification bell to be alerted when new content is released. And if you want to hear more from the channel outside of YouTube, or me, myself, I have a Twitter at OneManThinkTan1, the Roman numeral, link in the description below. And, as always, and most importantly, have a wonderful day.